Okay, next part is, once you've got the chassis running nice and smooth, is take your brass tube and dummy gearbox, making that fit inside that. I think it's about roughly 3.8 to 4 mil drill out. It can be fairly loose. Next is to slide that through with the gearbox. Inside the chassis. So it looks like you've got a dummy gearbox. It moves about, so what you might have to do is to put a piece of plastic underneath or on top of the gearbox, stop that from moving about, and glue it into place. And then what you want to do after that is you want to make sure you have equal measurements both sides of that tube. Once you've got that, put some glue on both sides to hold that shaft into place so it doesn't keep falling out. Take your long 1/8 rod, slide that in, taking your other type of clamp connecting side cranks, slide that on. There's no brass bush in this one, it clamps on using some 2mm bolts like so. You can see there's a slot in there so it clamps up. Once you're happy that it's all in position, making sure it's flush with the outside, clamp one up, so it can't move. Take the other one, slide it on, making sure that they are 90 degrees of each other. Gently clamp that one. Once you have done that, test run it again with a speed controller, very slow, and you'll see if there's any tight spots. You may have to undo the looser one and just turn it ever so slightly to create a nice smooth motion. Once you're happy you have done that, tighten the screw up completely so it's nice and tight on the shaft, and you have your chassis complete. Next you take your front and rear buffer beams. I've painted mine in red because I like red buffer beams, and I guarantee someone's going to say something to me that they're the wrong colour. Using some 2mm nuts and bolts, push that through to the front and fit 2 nuts on from the back, tighten down so you have your buffer beam on the front. You can drill a hole through the centre for a coupling of your choice. I haven't added it to this one, down to whatever you want really. slide in the rear of the beam, holds it a bit tight. So you have a completed chassis. Right, next stage is the bonnet. Very straightforward. Paint it all, do all your rivet detail, all your louver panels, making sure that the small one goes at the front, not the rear. Glue the mesh, as you can see I've got a little fan in mine, glue the mesh inside the radiator. Some will come with finer mesh, some will come with, as what my one's got, it's not the right one, it should be the finer mesh. But I accidentally glued it in place and I thought, I ain't taking it out now. So glue the mesh in place onto the radiator. Once you have done that, get your chassis, bolt your bonnet to the chassis using 3 mil nuts and bolts. You can glue them into the little slots, one at the back and there's 2 at the front. Bolt that into place so you know it's in the correct position. Get your radiator and glue that so it lines up with the chassis, so you get it dead centre to the model. Once you've done that, you can take it back off and finish off by putting your little radiator cap, and the chimney gets screwed in with a 3 mil bolt from the inside, and that then can be screwed on into position like so. Next, the cab. The cab comes completely flat pack. You have floor, 2 side panels and a front and a rear. The cutout, if anyone wants the back filled in, when ordering you can ask me to fill that in so that the printer will do that all for you rather than you having to try and fill it. So some people want it open, some people don't. So what you do is, I recommend putting some tin foil or greaseproof paper on a table, gluing all your side panels so they're nice and square onto the floor, making sure they're flush with all the panels. If not, don't worry, you can put some filler. And once that's dried, you're going to have join marks either side. You can use filler, or as I did on this one, as I didn't have any filler, is I just put a little bit of brush on paint into the gap, wet and dried it until it was completely flat and smooth, and you can see it came out unnoticeable. So you can paint all the panels before you glue this together in primer. Stick all your parts on. Once it's all primered, stick all your rivets on using liquid poly glue, because liquid poly glue sticks to the primer, and I've never had one come off ever. so the paint holes are all back on anyway. So once you've done that, you can take your well, I'll call it a control panel, but it's the inside of the cab panel. You have a cutout at the bottom which fits over the hole in the bottom of that. So that gets glued in place right up against this panel, right over. Glue that into place once you've painted it. Comes with a few detail parts like the hand wheel. The hand wheel gets glued onto the top. There is a seat which goes inside, but we don't do that now. We have the reverse gearbox, which once painted gets glued inside there like so. There is a little seat which I don't have on me. The printer is actually printing them at the minute, so I don't have one, but it's a little seat which just gets glued in between the control panel and the gear changer. Once you've completed all those little bits, you've got one bolt at the back front and two at the rear. Bolt that into place like so, two there and one there. Bolt that in place, not to over tighten, so it's nice and secured really. There you go. There are some extra bits and pieces like a little checker plate, some little bits and pieces which come with the kit. You can put that wherever you like. There's even like a little foot pedal on there. Stick that inside just to make it look a bit more detailed. Next is the roof. That's 3D printed. It has a thicker part in the middle which is the same width as the two cabs. What you once painted and ready, you literally glue that in position in between. It's that easy. I did that because it makes it so much easier trying to get the roof in position. You literally just place it on and glue it in position. Once you've done that, you can take your fuel tank. Comes in 3 parts, your little support legs and the tank. You have some where the straps are, the parts that it's missing is where these sit. So once painted, glue them in position like so, and then you can glue that into the centre of your windows, and your logo is complete. You can add more detail if you like, like handrails and decals and stuff like that, and some have a panel coming up over the radiator or a handrail. You can pretty much do whatever you like. I'm going to leave mine as this because I quite like it as that is. And happy building! Thank you very much.